What's up, lads and ladettes? How are we doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastically well. So, as you can see, I'm doing another Lost Ark video, and if the title sounds familiar, it's because I've done this video before. Literally like 3 days ago I did this video, but the funny thing is, right, there's a reason why I call it a Redux, and there's a reason why you cannot find the other video now. It's because literally about half hour, like an extra 30 minutes of playtime, 30 minutes to an hour of playtime, it made me do a complete 180 on my thoughts of the game, okay? A complete 180, and there's a few things that I want to not discuss, but I want to say in a little bit more of a concise thing now that I kind of know a few little bits and bobs. I want to talk about a few things, and it's probably only going to be like a 15-20 minute video anyway, as opposed to the hour-long one. But I figured if I kept the other video up, I would be doing a disservice to people that want my honest opinion now. Okay, so the problem that I had with the first time around playing it, okay, so first thing, you know how it was all stuttery? 90% of my issues was the fact that I was in borderless window mode. So I turned that off and it's now in full screen mode, and most of the stuttering is gone. The last of the stuttering, I'm fairly certain, is just players loading into the game, loading into an area, but also the fact, I need to get an extra 8 gig of RAM because I've only got 8 gig, and a lot of games at the moment really need you to have 16 gig. But getting an extra 8 gig of RAM is like pulling teeth. So annoying, so difficult, especially in Australia. A lot of places weren't selling, and like just the shipping cost from someplace like America was going to cost a fuck ton. But there are a few things are opening up now, so I'm going to be able to get one, hopefully for a decent price. Anyway, Lost Ark. For those of you that are just coming, Lost Ark is who didn't see the previous video and are wondering what Lost Ark is, it is a MMO action RPG that was originally in Korea, but now is sort of worldwide. It's on Steam, and I think it's on a couple of other things, but that's the skinny of it, okay? That's the skinny of it. It is an MMO ARPG. That's the skinny. Now, what do I think of the game? If you watched my previous video, you might think that I don't like it. You might think that I just dislike it entirely. And for the first, hour, that was a fact. I really didn't enjoy the game that much at all. But, and here's the big old but, I have now done a 180 and now think that the game itself is really it's pretty decent. It's well worth you playing it. Like fucking fair dinkum. You guys should play it. Give it a good old bloody shot. And there's a few reasons why I've changed it, okay? The Proluge was absolute shit. I'm not changing my mind on that. The intro to the game is one of the worst intros to a game that I have seen or intro to an MMO that I've seen in a long time. And I don't say that lightly. I genuinely think it's one of the worst introductions that I have ever had the misfortune of playing. In saying that, though, after the Proluge, after the tutorial crap, right, that did take around about an hour and was very repeaty and very annoying, after that, the game opens up and becomes real bloody cool. And I'm not being hyperbolic about that. It does become really cool. The combat is really smooth. The combat itself actually really reminds me of the way League of Legends tends to roll a lot of their sort of stuff. Obviously with more attacks and things like that, and you have a slightly more fluid standard sort of attack. We're going to do a big swing, big damage. Cool. Okay, and we're going to finish him off. Smack. Now let's do combo. Cool. And let's head back. But I wanted to readdress a couple of the points that I had in the other video, and I wanted to just go over some pros, some cons, and things like that. And it should only take another, like, you know, it really should only take like 10 minutes to explain some of the pros and cons that I've seen. There's not a lot of cons, but there are a few. So first we're going to go over like artistic stylization. Now the artistic stylization when it comes to like the NPCs, the actual landscape and things like that is awesome. It's absolutely fucking fantastic. However, when it comes to the characters, like your actual player character, I have issues. Now, I don't have issues with the armor. Of course, the armor is incredibly stylized, but it works. It still looks really nice. It looks like something that, you know, one could wear in would wear in a fantasy setting without being too fantastical. The sword, though, holy shit! Look at this fucking thing. Look at this. It's massive. Right, and now I'm not saying that you shouldn't have you shouldn't play, like, I'm not saying that they can't have massive swords in fantasy. There's massive swords in fantasy all the fucking time, but you gotta work your way up to it, man. You gotta work your way up to it. Like, let's take, for instance, and I know the character I chose is big two-handed sword, but let's just have a look. So these are one-handed swords. And there's daggers and stuff. They look normal size. A two-handed sword should maybe be a little, like maybe a bit bigger. Here's what I would change, right? I would lower the sword hilt to around about here. I would have a straight bar, and then a blade to around about here. And, or even all the way down to the thing, sure. But not this big. Not this big. And I'm not even looking at, like, saying that as well, in real life, blah, blah, blah. No, at the end of the day, it's fantasy. But here's the problem that I have with it. You need to work your way up to this sort of thing, right? These hyper-stylized weapons. This, to me, looks like it should be an end-game weapon. The weapon that you get just before you, like, kill some massive, gigantic monster and you use this weapon to slay the fucking dragon. You know, like, that's what that's like to me. You know, not the starting weapons. I mean, come on, not the starting weapon. But I digress. So that and the fact that some of the story is a little bit all over the place. That's my only gripes. If I'm 100% honest, that's my only gripes. The only other gripe that I have with the game is the stutteriness, and that could, at the moment, just be the fact that I'm only working off 8 gigabytes of RAM. And I'm going to be working with that idea that it's only 8 gig, and I'm not going to fault the game for that. However, the fact that it's way, way, way smoother in full screen than it is in borderless window mode, that still tells me that there's still kinks that need to be worked out. And I've also seen that there are things to do with the chat that can drastically slow down your game and cause it to stutter. So I'm not going to fault it. Now, what are the positives that I like? Obviously, you guys know that I like the combat. The combat is like it is dope combat. The combat itself, you feel powerful, you feel the impact because they incorporate things like screen shake, right? Like, let's wait until we get a... we'll get the E? Or... See how the screen shakes? That is how you indicate to a player that it's doing a large amount of, not just damage, but it has mass, it has impact, right? When you do combat, you need to make sure that when something looks like it should hit really hard, it needs to feel like it hits really hard, with like shaking and sparks and things like that, which I think the game does really well. But things like this, whirlwind, things like the whirlwind, it's not smashing into anything, and it's not and even that one, the double slash, it's not smashing into anything, So it doesn't need to have that sort of impact. Even with this one, the crime hazard, right? When it goes up, nothing, but when it comes down, it does a big impact, which I think is really cool. There is a lot to be said when a game development company does impact correctly. So I really like the combat. The combat is solid. The combat is fun. The combat seems fluid and fast. And no lie, I love the combat. The combat is really cool. Now, let's talk about the other aspect of every MMO and every action RPG, RPGs in general, that is incredibly important, and that is character progression. Now, I don't know if there's extra stuff past the combat and the roster levels. There could be, but so far I'm quite happy. Right? If we have a look at the combat level now, when you level up your combat level, now I started off at level 10, so I don't know if... I still find that kind of weird that I start off at level 10, but when you level up, you get X amount of these points, right? So when you level up, you get X amount of these points, and you use these points to upgrade your skills. You unlock skills the higher level you get, but you're able to throw points into your skills. It tells you the required points, and I think you get 5 points when you level up. And then you're able to put your points into whatever you like. Now, I put like, you know, a bunch of points into this. So, you know, there's some cool stuff. You know, there's some cool stuff cranking here. But when you level up, right? When you level up your skill points, you're going to get X amount of, you're going to put X amount of points into your skills. And when you get to a certain point, you're able to basically enhance it with extra stuff. So let's grab one that's I haven't increased. Mountain Crash. Mountain Crash. This is you stomp the ground with 1 foot to attack all foes within 4 meter radius with 405 earth damage, inflicting earthquake on them for 2 seconds, which is a mid sort of stagger sort of thing. Once I have 4 points in this, right? Once I've got 4 points, so once I've leveled this up 4 times, or whatever, once I've leveled this up and there's 4 points in this, and once combat level is 16, once I actually unlock it, I'll be able to put I'll be able to, like, start putting perks in, like, points into these perks. So, for instance, I could reduce the cooldown of the stomp, or I can increase the amount of fury I gain, or I can increase the earthquake duration, and all the way at the end, you know, you can add things like earthquake shock, attacking foes within 8 meters, critical hits, critical rate from the additional attack plus 20%, inflicts 80% basic skill damage. So this is an earthquake shock. So once you do it, it sends forth a second wave. Or there's earth impact, attack shake the ground, pulling foes to the center of your attack range and inflicting plus 12% basic skill damage every 1 second for 6 seconds. So you're able to upgrade your skills quite a bit, which is, I find, really cool. Really, really cool. Now, the other interesting thing is the rosters, okay? Your roster level. Now this, as far as I'm aware, the roster level goes across all characters. So, all roster characters. I'm assuming this goes across every single character. You basically increase your roster level by doing quests, I think killing special mobs, doing certain things, and that increases your roster level. There, at the moment, is 250 roster levels. Right? 250. That's insane. 250. And there's only going to be more, like, there's only going to be exponential XP gain, right? So, the more you level up your roster, the more it's going to take to level up your roster. So, you'll have this feeling of almost near endless progression. You know, I reckon getting from, like, 241 to 242 would be an insane amount of experience points. But, what do you get from the roster levels? You're able to increase your, like, for level 1, plus 5 to strength, dexterity, intelligence. Cool. Vitality plus 5. Strength, dexterity, intelligence plus 5. Then that basically does that. And then eventually, like, chest of 50 crystals at level 10. Cool. And it does that over and over. And you get, at specific intervals, you get some extra stuff. But this will increase your, let's see. This will increase things like your health. So vitality goes into your health. And you can, and your strength helps determine your attack power and things like that. Determines your damage to foes, your basic attack power based on strength, dexterity, intelligence, and weapon power. So, really cool shit. Really cool shit. So there's this almost constant feel of progression. And as you can see, there is plenty of people playing. So it's not like there's no one playing. There's a bunch of people playing. Now, where do I need to go next? I need to go up there. And the maps are quite big. But they're sectioned off, so it almost has... It's not quite Diablo. And it's not quite Diablo in its sort of mapping. It does have a Diablo-esque look. However, it's got a area system that's more akin, I would say, to... what would it be? Path of Exiles, I reckon? That's Shabooey. Get you. Big damage going with the combo. Wombo combo, there we go. Get you. There we go. See? The combat is very smooth. It's very good. So this video was just me sort of not correcting, but the problem that I had with this game, right? The start was horrible. My initial start was absolutely garbage. But once I got past the prologue, the shitty voice acting, and things like that, and I got into the thing where I'm able to run around, I don't have to do so much fetch questing. I can grind up mobs to see what they drop for a while if I wanted to. Which I did a little bit yesterday. That was fun. I was able to get a hold of like some item pieces that I was able to pop on. And a few different things like, you know, some HPs, potions and things like that. So, I don't have as big of an issue with the game as I did when I did my initial impression. But I haven't played the game much longer than my initial impression, like as in-game hours. At this point, I've probably played it for 4 hours. In total, 4 or 5 hours. After, like, literally 30 minutes after, like, 30 minutes of game like playtime after I did my initial first impressions, my first impression was completely different. It was completely changed. So I think what I'm going to do going ahead in the future, and this is why I always say, don't be afraid to correct yourself, and don't be afraid to rectify issues and come up with new solutions. So what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to take a similar approach to what Lazy Peon does. Though I won't be able to do it as major as he does. I won't be able to sit down and record for a long time. So what I'm going to have to do is whenever I come across a new game, I'm not going to do an initial impressions video like I have done in the past. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing the game, and then once I get to 15 plus hours, then I'll record some of the more interesting things that I like, whether it's dungeons, combat stuff, whatever, and then I'll do a sort of not a review, but talking about the game and my thoughts on it. Not quite an in-depth review, but more of this easy to follow, easygoing sort of style of video. But anyway, guys, I'm going to be leaving it there for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you know. And a special thank you to my Patreons, Devon327 and Bill Flatter, for supporting me for $5 a month. That money goes towards games. It will probably help go towards more RAM. And we're slowly seeing an increase in sub count and slowly seeing an increase in followers on Twitch. Things are popping off, and I couldn't be more proud of the community that we have built here. And I hope people stick around for whatever's next. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. You all take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.